This is session 1, so we're going to go over the balanced diet, just to really reinforce the basics of nutrition and what leads to weight loss. So today is the balanced diet. So this is the overview of all the topics that you'll be going through. So if you are starting your first session today, apologies, I'm not there, but these are the sessions you'll be having. If you've been starting on week 7, week 8, then you know what's coming up. So we've got a balanced diet, goal setting, healthy behaviours, etc., all the way down to sleep and fluid awareness, which we probably had most recently. So again, any health conditions, come let me know in class. If anything new pops up, let me know, and then you can scan some QR codes there as well. So the session objectives for today are going to be to understand what a healthy, balanced diet looks like, how to get a variety of food groups in your diet, to discuss the fad diets and weight cycling, learn how to use the weight loss plate and diet plans, and discuss helpful and unhelpful factors in your weight loss journey. So with that last one, we're going to be looking at calories in, calories out, what kind of holds our calories, how some options, how we can track them, and how we can actually lose weight. So first thing I want you to do is pause the video, and I'm going to give you 5 minutes for what foods form part of a healthy balanced diet and what foods do not form part of a healthy balanced diet. Now, I want your kind of baseline knowledge on this, so don't worry if you can't get anything right or you don't know what to put down. Have a guess, give it a go, and I'll give you 5 minutes if you want to pause the video now. Cool. So hopefully you got some good examples down, and I'll have a look at them properly in person. So have you found any diets that work for weight loss? So the next thing I want you to do is write down any diets you've tried before. So if you have tried Slimming World, Weight Watchers, keto diet, high fat diets, anything like that, please let me know, and let me know in the sessions when you come to me. But yeah, have you found any diets that work for you for weight loss? Jot them down in your book, and I'll have a look at them next time I see you. I'll give you about two minutes to do that. So if you want to pause the video again, you're welcome to, and you can crack on with that. Oh, so first of all, we're going to start with the Eat Well guide. So you can see there, we've got kind of like a third fruit and veg, third fruit, carbs and fiber, a little bit of oil, some dairy and some proteins. So there's some foods in there that show basically what represents that macronutrient, which we'll go into more detail in a second. And then we also want to eat less of cookies, pizza, donuts, etc., which is pretty self-explanatory, but it's good that we get our heads around it still. Now we've got 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, which is a fair amount, but it's very much doable. If you're having a bottle of 500 milliliters, you'd only need three or four of them. Okay, so if we're having one for when we wake up, flush our body out at lunchtime and dinner, then we're going to be hitting that naturally. So it's more just remembering to actually drink our water. Now, you look at the fruit and veg, the carbs, dairy, proteins, and oils and spreads. You can have a little look and see yourself what kind of foods make up that range. That was the standard one. So if we go back and see the standard one, if it lets me, I don't know if it will. Yeah, so there we go. So we can see the standard one here. So I want you to have a look properly at the fruit and veg, the carbs, and the protein. Have a look now. Pause the video if you want to, and have a look. And what I want you to do now is compare it to the vegan and vegetarian Eat Well guide. One thing straight away that points out to me is the protein options are very limited within the veg and the vegan. So that may cause a struggle if you're wanting to hit a certain amount of protein in your diet, and you've been told that you need a high protein diet and you are vegan or vegetarian, then obviously that's going to play some issues into it. But there are ways to hit them. So we're looking at our pulses, our lentils, chickpeas, tofu, soya mince, etc. Even seeds. So you can see there's some mixed seeds. They're going to have a high amount of protein in, which a lot of people don't realize. But also we've then got to balance that. So nutrition is complex because we've then got to balance that with how much fats we're having and how much carbohydrates we're having. So we do have to balance it all together. So there's some other diets there. So you've got the South Asian and the African. So you can have a quick look at them as well, and find any differences you want. If that's your culture and you're around those areas, then of course you're probably going to agree with what's on there. But yeah, difference in there. So we have a look at our macro and micronutrients. Now, there we go. You may not have heard of the term macronutrient. If you have been in my classes, you definitely would have. And if you haven't and you are new, you may have heard of the term micronutrient and macronutrient, but what do they actually mean? So micronutrients are needed to give your body energy. So we'll be looking at vitamins and minerals, which we have a whole session on, so I won't go into too much detail. And they prevent health conditions caused by deficiencies. If you are taking things like multivitamins, just make sure that the NRV value on the back is 100% because there's not much point in taking it if it is about 20 or 25%. So if you have got a multivitamin and you think you can hit your micronutrients that way, just double check that the NRVs, which are the non-reference, 100% of what you need. Macronutrients, so we've got carbohydrates, so we've got simple and complex carbs. Simple are quick releasing, so they give us energy quite quickly. Things like fructose, things like glucose. So we're looking at our fruits, we're looking at our sweets, high sugar foods, etc. They're going to be our simple carbs. So if we, for example, if we want to go do a quick run, we might have some simple carbs straight away. Okay. Our complex carbohydrates are complex, so they take longer to digest, but they give us long-lasting energy. So if we had a bowl of pasta, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours before a run, we're going to have some long-lasting energy for that run because it takes longer to digest. So we're going to get that energy in the future. Carbohydrates are 4 calories per gram, so one of the lowest calorie dense macronutrients in nutrition. So we've got our fats. So we've got our good fats and our bad fats. Bad fats and trans fats and our hydrogenated fats. So they're going to be solid at room temperature and they're not going to be great for us at all. They're going to do stuff like raising our cholesterol and narrowing our arteries. So they're going to play a big issue as well. And fat is 9 calories per gram. So it is very calorie dense, actually the highest calorie dense macronutrient of them all. So we need to be aware of that. So when people say I've got a high fat diet, so that's why I'm fat, technically it's kind of right. But it's actually because it's the calories. So if you had 10 grams of carbohydrates, then you'd only have 40 calories. But if you had 10 grams of fat, you'd have 90 calories. So that's where that comes from. And if we're in a calorie surplus, which we'll go on to later, then we're going to be putting on weight. So that's where that connection's from. And fat is a really good energy source as well. So we need our good fats. If we do get our good fats in, so things like salmon provide omega-3s, then our neurons to our brain is going to improve, and our overall focus will improve as well. So we do need our good fats in our diet. So things like eggs and salmon would be classed as good fats, avocado, etc. Oh, so then we've got our proteins. So they're 4 calories per gram. So lowest like carbohydrates, calorie dense anyway. They're for repair and growth. So if we are breaking down our muscle fibers, they're going to be really good at repairing them and growing them, making them bigger. And also it does fill us up for longer, so we feel more saturated. So that can prevent things like snacking, etc. So protein is very much needed for repair and growth. Is the main source of protein. And then, as I've mentioned, micronutrients before. So fruit and veg side of the Eat Well plate, why do we need them? Good source of vitamins and minerals, good source of fiber. Now, fiber is really important because it also fills us up. So it will prevent us from snacking and we're going to feel saturated. So key messages, eat a variety, have at least 5 portions a day. I'm sure you've heard of 5 a day, but it is really key. And having a variety, we're going to make sure we're hitting those micronutrients, etc. And we've got our carbohydrates, like I've mentioned there. So body's main source of energy. So it is. So we use our carbohydrates first. We need carbs to function basically, and provide important range of nutrients such as B vitamins. Of course, B vitamins play a big role in a lot of beneficial ways, which we'll go into properly in depth on the vitamins and minerals section. And then good source of fiber. So yeah, whole grain, we're having whole grain cereals. You can say they're whole pasta, whole bread. It's going to be much better than having the white breads, which are going to give us the simple carbs, which is going to increase our blood sugar levels, etc. So key messages to take home from that is have food from this group with every meal. So there we go. So we need that energy and choose higher fiber versions. Cool. So proteins we have there. So we have our lentils, beans, lower salt and sugar, mince, chickpeas, chicken. There's some nuts that are in there, eggs, fish, etc. So why do we need them? Source of protein, vitamins, and minerals. Key messages: have 2 portions of fish per week. So I was speaking about omega-3s, how they can help our brain function. So oily fish is perfect for that. Choose lean cuts of meat. So can we go for the 5% fat mince? It's going to be low in calories, low in fat. Eat less red and processed meats. So things like pepperoni isn't great. Chorizo is not going to be great. We want those leaner meats. So things like chicken, 5% beef mince, turkey, and of course salmon is fine to have because we need them omega-3s and those good fats at one point. And then beans and pulses are really good meat alternatives. So if you are vegan, vegetarian, then of course that's a really good alternative. And then we have dairy alternatives, protein, good source of calcium and vitamin D. Now, calcium is really important as well for movement and muscle function because calcium ions start the sliding filament theory, which is basically how we contract. So how our brain basically signals our muscles to contract. Calcium ions start that. So we're looking at actin and myosin coming together. But I won't go into too much detail on that, but just know that calcium is really important as well as vitamin D and protein. So key messages to take home are choose lower fat and lower sugar options where possible. Try swapping high fat options for low or reduced fat options as well. And then, of course, we've got our oils and spreads. Why do we need them? Dietary fats help the body absorb vitamins and produce important substances. Like I said, good fats. There are some good fats in there. Go for the lower fat spread though, 100%. It's key messages. So there you go. Choose unsaturated. All types of fat are high in energy. Use in small amounts. So, for example, vegetable oil, olive oil, if we are cooking with it, use it in small amounts. Very high in energy, very high calorific foods that we're eating there. Then water, as we mentioned, so 6 to 8 glasses of water. Some key messages: water, lower fat milks and lower sugar or sugar-free drinks, including tea and coffee, all count. So if you are having water with your tea, having it with cordial, they're all going to count towards your daily intake. And then yes, the fruit juice and smoothies count towards fluid consumption, but should be limited to 150 milliliters a day. That is because if you are getting them from concentrate, it can give you some really high sugars. And then this is pretty self-explanatory, but eat less often and smaller amounts. Now you don't cut these out of your diet because we want to be realistic and everyone loves to treat from time to time, but just pick when to have these treats and don't go overboard. So the weight loss plate, if we fill up half our plate with veg, we're gonna struggle to get it wrong and go over our calories because we're only having 25% protein, 25% carbs, and the rest is fruit and veg. So we're going to very struggle to go over our our calories with that on the plate. So what I want you to do now is pause the video for about 5 minutes and try and adapt one of the standard meals you'd have throughout a week into this empty plate that we have there. Hopefully that's gone okay. So what we're going to do now is move on. So things to think about: do you need help when cooking healthy meals, such as pans, utensils, chopping board, etc.? Do you need help to change your home or work environment to support you to eat healthily? What can you do to make healthy eating more enjoyable? And what do you need to do to keep eating healthily and sticking to your goals? So these are things just to think about, okay? So have them in your head, think about it. Do you need to change the people you're around? Do you need to change the way your lifestyle is structured at the moment? Or if you do work, how can you incorporate nutrition and health into your busy work schedule? Because there are ways to do it. And if you want to ask me about that in lesson, 100% go for it and I'll give you some tips. So then calories. So calories are a measure of the amount of energy in food or drink. So these, you'll see calories on all foods. Daily recommendation or the average recommendation is 2,000 for women and 2,500 for men. Now, if you want to get an exact kind of what you are and how much you should have to stay at your maintenance calories, then just search up calorie calculator online, enter in your age, enter in your weight, enter in your height, and it should give you a really accurate calorie target. So that's your maintenance. So if we want to lose weight, we want to be in a calorie deficit, which means we want to be having as less calories as we can from our maintenance. So if you're trying to lose weight, try to aim for 500 to 600 less than these recommendations. There we go, calorie deficit. In simple terms, you are taking less energy. So we're going to be burning more than we're taking in, which means we're going to be burning weight off our body. Now, if you do struggle with 500 to 600, as that is quite a lot of a deficit straight away, start with 200, start with 300, see how you get on with that. And then once you plateau to a weight that you like, then drop it a little bit more and see how you get on with that. So our program does not focus on calories. We aim for an overall healthier lifestyle. So it's all about that balance of keeping the health, but also hitting our calories as well. Because although we might have a really healthy diet, if we're having too much portioned of that, we will still be in a calorie surplus, therefore putting on weight, but eating healthy at the same time. These are the reference intakes. So this is the average amount. So fat 70 grams, saturated fat 20, carbs 260, sugars 90 with free sugars being 30, protein 50, salt 6, and fiber 30. So if you can combine how much calories you're going to have and try and hit these targets, then we're going to get a really good balance of having calorie intakes and also hitting our nutrition, which is the main goal. That is the overall goal of this journey, is to hit our nutrition, but also hit our calories. So next week's session will be goal setting healthy behaviors, which really ties into what I've just mentioned there. But yeah, if you have got any questions, let me know in lesson and come up to me about this session and I will definitely help you with it. Thanks for listening, guys.